As I mentioned before, Compressor is not just one application, it's rather a full system. And the nice thing about Compressor is that the system allows you to work in multiple different ways depending on how you work or what you need to do. I'll give you an example. Let me just switch over to a handle that I have over here, and let me explain a couple of different workflows. This manual batch is the one that we used a minute ago, where we had a sequence in Final Cut Pro. We took that sequence into Compressor, and then we made a couple of versions, one for the iPhone and another one for the web. Now, in this case, in this manual batch, you end up creating just the output movies, and then it's totally up to you to do something with those movies, either to make the HTML that embeds and links those movies, or take them into iTunes yourself. As you saw earlier, the file was just written to the hard drive. For example, in the case of a DVD, once you get the movies, then you have to author the DVDs. So it's up to you to create the menus, make the linking, and all of that. Same thing if you have the ability to export, for example, a Flash movie or a Windows Media movie, then it's up to you to do something with it. So that's what I'm going to refer to as the manual batch workflow. Now, there's other kinds of workflows. Let me go to this other screen. This one is really cool. It's called the batch template workflow. And in this case, you can get a source from a file, Final Cut Pro, or Motion, send it to Compressor, and then Compressor not only does the compression of the movies, but it also sends or does something to that movie to actually deploy the content. For example, you can create an audio podcast, you can burn a Blu-ray disc, physically burn it, not just make the movie, but also author a Blu-ray disc with menus and everything. The same thing with DVD, and a similar effect for Apple TVs, where you can make a movie that gets sent automatically to iTunes and then can be synced to the Apple TV. This one is also pretty cool. You can upload directly to YouTube from Compressor, as well as to a mobile Me account if you have one, or to make a web version. So that's a different kind of workflow. This one is kind of nice because you don't have to worry about the authoring or about the deployment. Compressor does it for you via templates, opposite to the workflow that we just took, where now it's up to us to take the output movies and then do something with them. And then there's other kinds of workflows. In this case, what I'm referring to as manual batch transcoding, which means taking a movie with one format, let's say a movie from your video camera, take it into Compressor to make another movie that it's not necessarily for deployment, but rather to be ingested by, let's say, Final Cut Pro for editing. Another workflow scenario, it's what Apple calls sharing, where you create a preset that then becomes available from Final Cut Pro or Motion, and directly from these two applications, without putting Compressor in the middle, you can export or you can compress to those output movies. Yet another workflow, it's creating droplets, where a droplet, it's a standalone application based on your presets from Compressor. And once you have that standalone application, then you can physically grab a bunch of movies from the Finder, drop them on the droplet, hence the name, and then, without Compressor in the middle, at the end of the process, you end up having your collection of compressed movies. So we'll explain the different workflows as we go along the course. Now, before we get into the details of using the batch templates, what I need to do is I need to explain the different terminology that is used in the Compressor lingo. That way we can make sure that when I talk about specific terms, that you understand what I'm referring to.